Hi, I'm Dr. Dobie. In this episode of Dobie Uncut, I've got Dr. Len Gibson, co founder of JaroGO Media. They're bringing a brand new creator ecosystem, and it's a wild story. Tune in. Hey, what's good, everybody? You know what it is. You know who it is. Dr. Jerry Dobie here with another live session. Today, I'm really excited. Today, I'm really excited to be talking to this young dynamo. He got gray, but he's still young. I'm old. So I'm gonna give him his young props. He got all this energy. If you knew all the things that he had going on, you'd be like, how in the world? Amazing person. I'm joined by a visionary whose influence in film, television, and education spans more than 25 years. His name is Len Gibson. He began his journey as an intern with Spike Lee's 40 Acres and a Mule, and has since become a respected producer, executive, and founder of the Peachtree Village International Film Festival. And that's a global platform. Uh, it elevates diverse creative voices, and they do everything from securing financing and distribution for acclaimed projects to educating the next generation of filmmakers. Gibson's work bridges storytelling, culture, and innovation. He now expands that mission through a company called JaroGo, which empowers independent creators with new digital tools and distribution opportunities. So, really excited. Everybody's talking about we need opportunities and folks need, endpoints or launch points. And JaroGo and Lynn and his partner, Wayne, have it. Lynn, it's an honor to have you here, man.
Oh, absolutely, man. I'm enjoying myself already. It's an honor to be here, sir.
Oh, we're gonna get into some shenanigans, I'm sure, before it's all over. You know me. You've spoken to me
I
before.
love it. I love it.
Man, from the inside looking out, let's get a reflective. How do you see the creator and the powerhouse? I'm gonna call you a powerhouse. You may not acknowledge it yet, but you are. Um, Lynn Gibson, talk to me.
Oh man. I'm just a guy, man, that just enjoy, film. I enjoy media in general.
Mm,
And I still get excited. I get goosebumps, when I'm watching a good film project, television project. I get even more goosebumps when it's mine.
of course.
And the fact that we're in a space where we're distributing creative content not only for ourselves but from other creators alike. Oh man, I'm having the time of my life. This is so much fun. I love it.
Okay, so you came up through 40 Acres and a Mule, which is an environment known for shaping bold and purpose-driven creatives. What did you see or learn in those early days, that still influences how you operate today?
You know what's interesting about my time, with 40 Acres, when I was there, I didn't spend a lot of time in the office. I was thrust into the streets of New York, working with many of the individuals that Spike Lee influenced and over the years. And what happened was I had an opportunity to get on the job training very, very fast. And when I was in the office, the opportunity I had was really invaluable. At that time, Spike was not producing any content at the moment. So at that time, he was in the process of developing ideas and taking the ideas from the boardroom to hopefully one day be on screen. When I was there, he was talking about doing the Joe Lewis story, which we know today still hasn't been done, not by Spike.
Mhm.
He was talking about producing Rent. Um, it came out, but he actually didn't do it. It was done by a studio and another producer. At that time, the project that he did do, I saw the beginning workings of Inside Man.
Mhm.
All right.
Ooh, is that the
Um,
Denzel?
Denzel, that's right.
Oh, okay, okay, okay,
Jodie Foster, Clive Owens, amazing project.
okay.
Chiwetel Ejiofor. It was, amazing project. And what happened at that time, we saw information on the whiteboard. We saw, ideas, with the screenplay, et cetera. So it was, if you can imagine being, in the streets working on short films, purpose-driven short films and other types of projects from individuals that was influenced by spite to coming in the boardroom, learning about how to make this Joe Lewis film happen, how to make this Rent movie happen, how to make this Inside Man project happen. So I got a chance to experience all the different facets of filmmaking, from the on the job, in the streets, behind the camera, to in the boardroom and all the above. It was an amazing time in New York.
I hear, this day and age, and the same thing our parents and grandparents used to say. I don't know what y'all young people are thinking about, but I always hear people talking about I ain't finna do this and I ain't gonna do that and this, that, and the third. We're talking about it in a business where really coming from the trenches really means carrying cable, tabletops, move the dance floor, serve on a craft services line, whatever, sweep up, do whatever you got to do. So you learn what I hear you to be saying is you learn the nuts and bolts, literally in the mud, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
In the dusty streets, sweaty, 18-hour days, starving, freezing, just, and then as you moved into producing, you took on roles a lot of creatives, try to avoid financing, contracts, distribution, the less glamorous side of the craft. What drew you toward that side of the business instead of running from it?
Well, what drew me to it was the fact that that was the side that most people I knew was having the most problems with. So for me, I've always been the guy that run towards the problem, not away from the problem, right? So um, I noticed that it wasn't a lot of us, it wasn't a lot of people that looked like me that was, learning the ins and out of a finance contract or a distribution contract. It wasn't a lot of people that looked like me that understood how to read a sales contract, how to even negotiate an international sales deal, how to negotiate a distribution deal. So when I realized that, I said, you know what? If I learn it, I could be a commodity. I can create an opportunity not only for myself, but for others. And
Mhm.
that's what I ended up doing. I spent the majority of my time doing just that. And man, it was probably the best decision I made in my entire career.
The biggest flex, people talk about, there's two things for me, the biggest flex is being able to say, screw it, I'm not doing nothing, I'm done with everything and be good, right? The next one is to be able to say, I'm providing opportunities for other people to feed their families and learn a business that they can pass on perpetually. You know, being a grip is a skill set. It's a skilled trade inside of you got to learn how coiling wire. If you don't roll that wire the right way, the cords at the right way, so eventually it's going to break. That one damn coil could be $10,000 for one cord. I have heard, trust me, I caught the blues. You got to spin and roll, spin and roll, spin and roll. Everything got to be, oh man, if you don't shut up and leave me alone, I'm rolling this wire. But, those are skill sets. Learn how to run sound, how to run the cables, how to run the front of house part, run the cameras, nuts and bolts. These are things that you can carry from, you don't have to be a music video editor. You could be working for MTV or ESPN on the football field, running the camera. So, um, as you came up though in the business, you've always like lived in the intersection of art and culture. How do you balance being a creative storyteller and with being an executive who has to make like the whole machine run?
Wow, for me, I had to learn how to separate from what I personally like to the business,
Mm,
right? You know, it happens all the time. We deal with it every day. At least I do, with the film festival and with, JaroGo.
mm,
What happens is someone sends in um, a documentary
mm,
that could be a subject matter that I personally
mm,
don't care for,
mm,
don't agree with.
mm,
But if the audience on my platform, if it's something that they would agree with, something that they would enjoy, I need to look at it from that lens. I can't look at it from a personal lens. You know, had this conversation recently, with a colleague. He said, Len, why did you guys choose this film that we've premiered or screened at the festival? And I said, look at the audience. The audience was sold out,
mm.
and everybody was laughing and having a good time, enjoying themselves. It's not for me; it was for them.
Right, right,
You
right.
know, and that's a big part of, being an executive in this business,
Mm,
right? Because you have to separate the art, the culture, the business. You have to be able to toggle between the two. It's hard sometimes,
mm,
right? But I always go back, I center myself and say, what's best for the majority? And whatever is best for the majority is what I, try to lean towards, unless it's a reason that I shouldn't. But most times, it's selecting, going forward with what makes
mm.
sense for the majority.
You got to make the decision, roll with it, and be like, oh, I hope they buy in. Let's go. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly. It's been times, I'm like, oh man, I should have gone the other way, but it always works out for the good.
Okay. Exciting for me, we're talking about major productions and, you know, I cover festivals of all ilks, right? But I've never produced one. And I just look from the recaps when I'm getting the BTS footage from the different festivals and stuff. I'm going, man, I wonder first and foremost, how long does it take to get the first one off? And how many do you have to do before you really got your methodology down? The Peachtree Village International Film Festival is a major force now. Started, as a traveling exhibit, etc. But every major idea starts with a spark. What was the original vision that inspired you to create the festival? And does the current version, match what you hoped it would become?
Yes, I'll say this. The original vision was literally creating a festival where we could educate and entertain, right? And inspire, educate, entertain, and inspire. And and the way that we planned to do that at that time in the very beginning was one to offer a little education about the history of filmmaking, to entertain people by, obviously the content that we screen and showcase and the talent that we bring in to interact, with our audience. And three, to create programming and to bring in the right personnel to leave a lasting impression upon the individuals that attend so that they can go about their way after the event and create great art, create great businesses and do well and come back and do it all over again. Um, and we achieved that, right there in the Arbor Avenue Research Library,
Mm,
downtown Atlanta. And honestly, I was happy with that. If if we never grew beyond that, I was satisfied because it was happening then, early on.
mm,
Um, it was a great experience, at that time. So now, 20 years later, we went from, 150 people to 4,000 people. We went from, I don't know, maybe a couple of thousand people on, coming to the website to over 1 million people coming to the website. Um, so there's definitely a drastic difference in terms of the amount of people that we're touching and reaching. I didn't know we was gonna, get to where we are. And I would love to even be a lot bigger, right? Internationally. But I realized that we are doing a great job in terms of where we are and the amount of people that we're impacting. It's just it's a joy. It's a lot of work.
No doubt, no doubt.
I want to quit 20 times throughout the year, but then you get an email from a filmmaker or from someone that was inspired by what you're doing, and you're like, here we go. I gotta do it again. It's one of those things, but it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Um, I'll say that I don't. We've far exceeded my expectations already.
Wow.
So anything that we do from here on out is just another blessing. You know.
Icing on the cake. Okay. It's true that in any industry, you know, as you're putting in that 10,000 hours to become that elite professional, discouragement, life tries that BS, and oftentimes it's a test of one's intestinal fortitude to continue moving forward. So you've mentored, a generation of filmmakers through workshops and university programs. When you talk to young creators who feel discouraged, what's the one message you always try to leave them with? Do you have a standard message?
Yeah, I mean, it's a couple of things. One is you have to attempt the impossible to be great. Um, Another is you can't win if you quit. Just as simple as that. It's like, so when you go through trials and tribulations, they're just that, trials and tribulations, right? It's like, I know that this is cliche, but there's darkness before light, you know?
Mm,
It's the thing is this is that tomorrow's a different day, regardless of what you're going through right now.
mm,
Get up, dust yourself off, and come back and do it again. It'll get better, it'll get easier, more doors will be open, more windows will be open. You just cannot quit. No matter how hard it seems, you just can't quit. If it's something that you truly want to do. If it's not something that you want to do, then I don't know. Go go learn another trade because
That's
it's
right.
hard.
Right.
I'll tell everybody it's the equivalent of being a surgeon in my, to me,
Okay.
in terms of the amount of work and dedication you have to put into it, it's not easy.
Mm,
You have to be willing I don't, you have to be willing to meet the unknown in this business. And the
venture.
unknown is around the corner every day. You just don't know what it is. We're shooting a film right now, and we woke up to we don't have a location today. Just literally, just a couple of days ago. And we have actors that flew in, you know, everyone's waiting, for the call sheet, right? That mm, that didn't go out the night before because it was waiting on some detail about the location. So in my mind, I'm like, that detail could be is no location, but let's
Mm,
see what happens.
mm,
But lo and behold, it was no location, or the location didn't work because it some other behind the scene issues going on. But lo and behold, it's I've been in a lot of productions, where I was the production assistant or whoever at that time, and the whole leadership structure fell apart
Mm,
because of an issue like that.
mm,
It can be, devastating. You have a 14-hour day plan and you know every minute is money,
yeah.
know and it's so important, and then you got to keep the morale of talent going. So we had to figure it out, last minute we figured it out, and it ended up being our best production day yet.
Wow. Okay.
But that often happens. You know what I mean? It's like you got to be prepared for the unknown.
Mm,
And the way that you prepare for the unknown is doing your best every day regardless.
mm,
And preparing yourself for the worst every day regardless.
mm,
So when the unknown happens, you're prepared. You can meet the obstacle, you can meet the task, and you can overcome it.
mm. And understanding the reality of life is they may paint beautiful pictures that are perfect, and they may tell perfect stories with happy ending, but it ain't always so. And even if you get to the happy ending, oftentimes there are benchmark moments in there that you go, whew, man, bro, I don't know how in the world that was nothing but whatever, how whatever you ascribe it to. But one of the things that I found, and I correlate this to military service, you're out there, you got to overcome and adapt on the fly. And I mean, immediately similar. There are weighty issues, not beyond, not just including your mortality itself, but the function of the downline, what else is going to happen with the overall big picture? What I mean? Can you perform this piece? And having a location gone in one day, if that isn't a team building exercise to the nth degree, I don't know what could be. Cause
Oh man, it absolutely is.
mm,
If your team fell apart the day before, you guys are gonna, come back together that day,
mm,
or
right,
you won't have a project. You know what I mean?
right.
That's just the way it is. And honestly, the military for me, with my military service is
Thank you
that,
for your service. Thank you for
oh,
your service.
thank you. Thank you for yours. Um, it's given me everything I needed to be successful in this business. The
Mm,
two things I would say that's, man, it's just been invaluable is just paying attention to detail,
mm,
follow up and evaluating. Those things have been amazing to me to help me, you know, go through things like uh no location, or your main talent is sick, or
mm,
there's no more money, or
mm,
whatever, the
mm.
food is not going to arrive because the caterer was in an accident, or the caterer was sick, or whatever. But yeah.
Difficulties. I thought it was curious. We were talking about learning the nuts and bolts. And oftentimes when they're going through the process, people are learning, you know, different aspects of the filmmaking business and process. But it seems as just like artists taking more control of the creative process for their long form projects, screenwriters are dipping into the production world. And so um, you saw this, you as an around the corner thinker, you kind of saw this happening, and you started you create a curriculum that blends screenwriting and production into one unified process. So why was that important to merge these disciplines, and what breakthroughs did you see once students learn them together?
Well, one thing that I was always frustrated about in the industry was seeing writers create beautiful work and that's it.
Mm,
What I mean by that, they write something beautiful and they're barely even mentioned beyond, you know,
mm,
the written by credit, right? They're barely acknowledged. I mean, you have obviously your award-winning, amazing writers, Stephen King, et cetera, right? That they get the accolades, but there are many that don't receive the accolades because they're just known as a writer and that's it.
mm,
So what I always taught my students, be more than just a writer,
mm,
and not saying that writing is not enough, but in the eyes of everyone that's watching you, be more than just a writer. And the only way you can do that is if you train to be more, if you learn the entire process and you put yourself in position to win.
mm,
And by an example of that is writer A is wanting to create an action movie, to write an action movie.
mm,
If writer A understands how movies are budgeted and financed, writer A may not create too many explosions in that screenplay
mm. Right.
because they know each explosion is going to cost X amount of dollars, right? So they're going to write, and I hear a lot of, and I get it. I know a lot of people that could be watching or listening to this are saying, "Don't write to the budget. Don't write to the budget." But I tell you this, as a producer, I'm happy when a writer understands the budget, right? Because you can always go back and add an additional explosion.
Mm,
You can always go back or you can expand the vision, you know. But sometimes when you see something, it's hard to strip it down
mm,
because your mind is always. I've seen so many writers that wrote great material that's never going to get produced or has never been produced because that material is $100 million piece
mm,
that they can't find the support for. But what if they wrote something similar at $10 million
mm,
and people was really excited about that and may have an opportunity to get produced, finance, etc. So understanding the full gamut as a writer, producer, one, you could go to the table and say, I need a producer credit on my project. Two, you're not just asking for a producer credit in name, you know how to produce because you went to school, you trained, you learned how to produce that project as well.
mm,
So I saw that and you do things by experiencing loss or pain a lot of times.
mm,
I wrote a screenplay, won't say the name of the studio. Studio optioned the screenplay and I got a couple of dollars, but they said, bye bye, as soon as I gave it to them. But I was just happy to have that opportunity at that time in my career.
mm,
I'll tell you, it's much greater when you can say, here's my screenplay, I'm producing it as well.
mm,
It's a different conversation, right? You go in the door differently, you demand more, you get more respect, etc. And I'll say this, the last part of your question was just giving some insight in terms of individuals that did well or utilized what we taught them in that class. And I have writers that went on to be a producer and a writer on theatrical productions,
mm,
you know, that never done anything prior to that. Have
mm,
a dental hygienist, literally a dental hygienist that was the quietest person in the class, but I saw her talent and I said, "You're gonna do something special." And she wrote an amazing screenplay that coincidentally was pitched at the film festival. And because of that screenplay didn't get produced, but a producer saw her writing and said, I want to hire her
Mm.
to this particular project. They hired her based on the pitch and the screenplay, and she produced a film that, became a theatrical release and ultimately distributed by Stars, and it did very well. But that's
Okay.
just, that's a success story
Mm.
from someone that came in as a dental hygienist,
Hmm.
came out a screenwriter and a producer.
Let me sidetrack real quick. Let's talk about that bread though. If if you're just a screenwriter, like I heard you just say, you got paid and they kicked you out of there, like, bye, this is
Mhm.
ours now. So, what if you're producing it? Not only is that two buckets of money, right? But a
Oh
little
yeah,
more control, right?
it's two buckets of money, it's more control, and it's ownership,
Mm,
right? So now I'm getting paid as a writer, I'm getting paid as a producer, and now I have ownership in the project. If the project is successful, I'm receiving royalties later.
mm,
Know, and that's what you want. You want to be a part of that,
mm,
If the distributor or the studio is, fair,
mm.
you can receive money for a very long time and, take care of your families.
See, the problem I want to have is that my mailbox is too full from that mailbox money. Go on, let me get them residual checks. I ain't mad. Independents, especially filmmakers, and I say this because one of my sons, he went to film school at Washington University and came out to be a Washington State. Nah, he went to UW, University of Washington. Okay, there we go. I'm old. Anyway, long time ago, and he came out to be a filmmaker, and he had a lot of other film students that made little films and things like that, but they wanted to remain independent. It's LA, obviously. It's saturated with waiters and filmmakers. Um, from your perspective, what truly holds most emerging storytellers back beyond money and access? Or are those the keys?
Fear.
Mm,
Fear is definitely a big part of it. Um, a lot of people, whether they say it or not, they're afraid of. Some people are afraid of success, and others are just afraid of failure.
mm,
And those are the two things. It's like you can't be afraid of either. It's okay to fail. I mean, a lot of people, um, for whatever reason, they think it's a death sentence.
mm,
It's like you just got to keep going. I mean, sometimes failure is a good thing.
mm,
You never would have known that didn't work if you didn't try it. You rather try it today than 10 years from now. And, when you could have been in a different place or at a different place. So I, I see it and I hear it all the time, uh,
mm,
about, from young filmmakers, young actors, young producers, directors, etc., that they have great ideas, they're very talented, but they won't do anything beyond talk about what they want to do.
mm,
Talk about the things that quote unquote supposedly excites them, but they're not putting in the work ethic to truly get it done. And then when you unpeel the onion a little bit, you realize, you peel it back the layer and you realize that this individual is afraid more than anything.
mm,
They're afraid.
mm. Okay.
It's
Okay.
sad.
Yeah, it's sad, but and I stole this from Steve Harvey. If you have a dream, You just got to put work clothes on that dream and go jump on the work site. Lay your foundation, put your plumbing in, put your electrical in, and go on and wall that joint, mud it, and go. Hopefully it'll stand. If it doesn't stand, you go back and fix it and repair it. But you have to take the first step. You know, Being frozen like a deer in the headlights accomplishes nothing except getting you hit and leaving you as roadkill.
You're right.
That's a country, it's a country a way of looking at it. But that's really kind of what it is. You end up laid by the wayside, and the big trucks keep on moving on. So speaking of leaps of faith, you have done all of this with inside the system and as an independent, and you decided, man, I can see more. I've taught, and now we need to take what we've taught and what we've built and our experience that we have and give others an opportunity and a place to uh, create as a hub and have from that hub all their spokes going out in one direction. So you and your partner, Wayne Overstreet, built something really special with Go Media called JaroGO. It's on there now. The two of you you've delivered respected films and TV series with like Aspire. Um, what made that partnership click creatively and operationally?
Well, the the cheat code to it all was that we had an opportunity to work together for years during the film festival or through the film festival.
Hmm.
Wayne graciously became a member of our board of directors. He was on the board with the festival, and he at that time he was managing arguably the top or one of the top post production houses, in the southeast.
Okay.
And anyone that runs a film festival or work with a film festival know that you run into projects all the time that need post production support or assistance. And a lot of times, we would have projects with various needs, whether it's a project that need sound design or sound mix or a film that needs colored or a film that needs editing or anything. You need ADR, you need this, you need so many different things. And we would call Wayne, hey, Wayne, I got a film we want to premiere, but man, this sound is horrible. Can you help? You
Hmm.
know, we need you to give them the love price because they can't afford, to pay. Or, hey, we got a great opportunity. This film needs X, Y, and Z. We want to pass it on to you for you to handle it, so on and so forth. So we had an opportunity to work together for a few years that way. And we became really close friends. And when the opportunity arose to do more together, we took advantage of it. We were both doing our own thing. Wayne was running his post production facility. I was running, my company, HLG Enterprises, and consulting for a lot of other production companies and had ownership in other production companies. Um, and I said, instead of doing all of these things separately, why don't we combine forces and do it together?
Hmm.
And it just made sense. So it worked because we had an opportunity to work together, prior.
Hmm.
Two, operationally beyond that is that Wayne and I are very similar in a lot of ways. The way that we approach the film business,
Hmm.
because we approach it just how I said it, the film business, the business of it all first,
Hmm.
then the creative component. We put business before creative,
Okay.
you know, and we both look at it that way. And I think that helps in a major way because we don't argue about this project. it's not going to make sense because it can't make money. We always agree, when it comes down to something that like that. And at the end of the day, we all know it's economics,
Yeah.
Uh, it's just no other way to look at it, economics first before the creative, and we both approach our business that way, and it's been amazing. And beyond that is our spirituality. I mean, God is like the center of both of our lives, and that allows us to be extremely balanced in this crazy, crazy business.
Mm. Yeah. It's wild. I have taken a look at your platform, JaroGo, and it feels like I'm gonna say it, the next evolution of your mission from Go Media and as individual producers and doing filming. Everybody talks about having their own, and I'm not saying everybody's got to build a Tyler Perry, facility or whatever, but if you have a digital space where you can collect all this and house all this stuff, it's the same as having, you know, one of those kind of facilities. So JaroGo blends streaming, social media, community, and commerce into one unified platform. It's like a one-stop shop. Y'all remember, you artists from way back when, y'all remember the one stops where you could go get all your stuff, your CDs, your tapes, your posters, your flats, all that good stuff. What moment or frustration, convinced you guys that you needed to build something new instead of relying on existing programs?
Well, it was probably a series of different things, right? Different moments. Um, One being we as distributors, we were distributing content before Gyro Go.
Mm-hmm.
And we would deal with a lot of distributors and we saw holes in their operation, right? You know, everyone cared more about the money than the people, right? And that was bothersome for us, right? You know, when it's something as simple as you have the money, pay the man. you know, they made the money, paid the man or the woman, pay them, pay the client. And something as simple as that, we just couldn't wrap our head around. Why are you cheating these good people? Two, um, we we started experiencing um, just a lot of important information being hidden, from creatives. The data, the analytics, the information, and obviously we know why because they don't want to pay you the money that you deserve, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you're owed. So we said, you know what? We're creatives and we're not going to treat creatives that way. So we were distributing content, so we were fighting a battle for them. But it began to become very, very taxing.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to fight a studio about some content that that they're gonna die over and not give us our $10. It wasn't worth it to keep
Yeah.
fighting the battle. So
Mm-hmm.
we said, you know what? Let's do something on our own. And we, it was trial and error in terms of figuring out exactly what we wanted to do. But the other side to it, when we started seeing what other creatives in the new age of creativity or what's happening, on social media, experiencing almost the same thing in a different arena, a different game, right? You got creators that are experiencing the same with some of these platforms that are shadow banning, some
Mm.
of these platforms that are allowing their their IP to be duplicated and copied and utilized. Um, the same thing, not sharing analytics, not sharing data and information. So we said, okay, we've experienced this with film and television. We're experiencing this with other digital content, and all these creators are having these same challenges. Why don't we come up with something where we could help alleviate all of these issues and be a one-stop shop for everybody, where we're treating everybody fairly and we're giving them an opportunity to to be the best versions of themselves.
Mm, mm,
And that's essentially, how we came up with the concept, for JaroGo.
mm,
Wayne and I knew that we couldn't do it alone, and that's where Richard came in. Richard was already doing this thing with Gyro, and Gyro again through the film festival. Gyro has been a sponsor, for almost a decade now,
mm,
and I had a small ownership in Gyro, and I realized I said, you know what? Instead of us recreating the wheel, we have a willing participant here. We have a partner.
mm,
We can go in, add some more bells and whistles, raise some more capital, put some more insight and creativity on this thing, and create what we're all talking about. And Richard was more than willing. He said, "Okay, let's just put a plan together. Let's make it happen." But all of those things had to happen for us to get to where we are today. And, just excited.
You know, every platform has a why, and you acclaimed first and foremost, you and Wayne are business people. Then, but it doesn't seem like you're suffering as business people from dissociative disorder as a human and as a creative who has struggled. And so, you know, what I heard you to say is that your why is that these kids and sometimes not kids, but these are people who are taking an opportunity and taking the chance. Sometimes they're last. They might take that tax return money and that's all they have to work with as a budget for the year, that $5,000 or $10,000 that they get. How do they maintain as much of that investment in return as possible? Sell your stuff right here. I have perused through it. I have watched movies, and I think the pricing is fair to watch great stuff. The Baltimore. I just was watching the Baltimore movie, and I'm going, man, and it's really great quality content, and the money's going directly to the creative. Why wouldn't we support this? It's a great mission. Once again, that comes down to leadership. Yes, business is there, and you're not doing it just totally out of the kindness of your heart, but it's a collective space. And considering the fact that 98% of our income is spent outside of our own community, here we have some brothers who have the experience, the stellar reputations, and major inroads with inside the industry that have come together and said we can make this open to everyone. If you're a creative and you have good quality product, you need a place to learn. Because I see I'm smart enough to turn the notifications on, so when you guys post the lessons that you're also sharing through the platform, so it's not just a place to house films and your shorts and promote and socialize with other creatives. Yes, there's a marketplace there. And yes, there's an opportunity to network, but it's also a way to display some really great stuff without having to like worry about, can I get to a theater? Can I get a distribution deal on a network? And go through that and have them just take advantage of you. You know what I mean? I want to be politically correct. I'm not often politically correct, but
I get
uh,
it.
you know what I mean. So JaroGo sits somewhere between social media, streaming, and like creator marketplace. Um, in your mind, what does JaroGo offer that platforms like YouTube, Instagram, Patreon, and Twitch don't or can't?
Well, a couple of things. Some of the places you mentioned, shadow bands, they're creators, right?
Mhm,
So it's no shadow banning on JaroGo right now. The other thing is we are willing participants in terms of working with creators,
mhm,
and that's what creators want, right? Um, we don't want to be that platform that places an action movie in the Garden magazine to promote the movie. We want to put you front and center where your audience is going to see you. We want to help you scale. A big part of what we do is help people scale their business.
mhm,
And that's really, really, really important to us. And unfortunately, it's not important to a lot of other platforms, most of them.
mhm.
Um, so for us, the difference is we truly care about the filmmaker. We truly want you to succeed, and not only do it's not just they're not just words, right? There's
Right.
action behind that. You can look at Baltimore Hustle. You can
Most
look at Black Famous. You can look at Call Me Quay. Some of these projects, and see that we're actively marketing and promoting these projects because we want to see the project successful and we want to do more business with the filmmakers. So we're working hard with everybody in the trenches, and that makes us different,
mhm.
than most of these platforms.
A lot of platforms, and this is really more prevalent in the music industry. They'll give you the distribution, but if you want the marketing and you want the promotion and that, those are add-on services. Everything's included and available to the artist from what I can see, from both the app and the website. It's directly to the creative right there on the spot. They don't have to play no extra games or there's no fluckery and trickeration going on just because it's right there. And pretty, even as a layperson, like I said, I don't make music, I don't make films, I just talk to people. But I'm looking at it and evaluating, I'm going, this is powerful. It's mission driven. You're going to make money, but the mission is to create successful and comfortable creators who don't have bitter beer face at the end of the month trying to pay the rent and can't create new stuff. Mental health. It's a yeah, well said. No, wallet health, mental health, because who was it told us, you know how my checking account is set up. You know what I mean? But you can get your money right there on the spot. So it's got built-in commerce and direct community engagement. And JaroGo just simply changes how creators can earn. How do you hope this business model reshapes the way independent artists and creators monetize their work and own their careers?
Well, we hope that creatives, one, they demand more for themselves, right?
Mm,
As a creative. I'm not mad at the creative that come to the table and say, I need this, this, and this. You should ask for it.
mm,
Um, and the other part of that is I hope that a lot of these platforms, outlets, studios, etc., wake up, right? And decide to do more. I won't mention any name, but there was a producer that decided to give their masters, right, to a lot of their artists
mm,
30 years later, right?
mm,
That's cool.
mm.
But after you made all that money for 30 years, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're doing it day one. Hopefully, though, other platforms that are out there and platforms that will be built in, in the future, they will start, creating opportunities for these creators to own more of their content, to be fair, to share the data, to lift shadow banning, to do more, like be a fair business to these
Mm,
guys.
I
You
like
know, be
it.
fair. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Right.
You know,
Right. There's
that's
enough
what we
money
just
there for
want, we want
everybody.
you to be fair.
Yeah. There's enough money there. Really, when you think and break it down, there's enough money there for everybody.
It truly is. It's like, stop being greedy.
Stop being greedy. Now, the one positive, create, things enter into the public domain after 70 years. The copyright is gone, right? So yeah, you got used for 30 years, but you still got 40 years to collect and do what you want to with your stuff before it hits the public domain and Creative Commons and all that good stuff.
That's true.
So, I'm just throwing that out there in case
That's
y'all
true.
don't know. But you, as we close out, and I want to thank you for your time and your patience and really, bringing some valuable insight into JaroGo, your process, and what makes a business person be a good corporate citizen and create something that's of service like JaroGo. So you and Wayne, amazing. You've always gravitated towards culturally resonant storytelling. When you're evaluating a project, what signals tell you that the story has real emotional or cultural weight?
Um, I look at projects that, well, I'll say this. I look at all projects, but I look at projects that I personally want to spend my time with and get
Mm,
involved with intimately, that's tapping into um what's happening in the world today or for what I foresee.
mm,
Um, and for me, um, throughout history, projects that we deem classics, that we deem as projects that stand the test of time,
mm,
they've done that, right?
mm, mm,
And that's exciting for me, you know. And I'm very intentional in in showing favor to projects that pay homage to our legends, projects that take a little something from those that went before us, projects and people. We stand on the shoulder of giants. History means a lot to me, and I look at that, and it's not necessarily stuff that could be in your face per se, but sometimes it's the way that the story was told. Sometimes it's the nuance of the the way that they move the camera. It could be the way that they colored, a dramatic scene. It could be the way that they infuse music into certain moments throughout the film.
mm,
Little things. And I love it when a filmmaker, can explain that eloquently. It pulls me in early and it
mm.
helps me to make a decision if I want to be a part of this project.
Okay, okay. I love that. And finally, my last official question. You already, I'm watching, the post on JaroGo, and everything is not out into the other spheres, across social media, but a couple of things are, and I won't mention them by name. I'll let you do it if you feel. But you have some coming of age and inspirational projects. Uh, while you're expanding, PVIFF and JaroGo, I want to talk about I want to talk about the Preacher Project. I really want to know more about the Preacher Project. But other than that, because that's got me excited. Could you just give me a little bit more on what's exciting you right now? What themes or ideas, are pulling you into this next chapter of your journey?
You know, I really enjoy smart filmmaking.
Mm,
Um, I like when stories are told from the aspect of this is what you think is happening,
mm,
this is what's really happening.
mm.
You know,
Right, right, right.
that's why I'm a fan of Jordan Peele, right?
Okay,
In terms of the way that he tells stories, that's why I'm a fan of Spike Lee, the
okay.
way that he tells stories. I'm a fan of Martin Scorsese because of the way he tells stories,
Mm.
and I could go on, but the thing is, Two Preachers on a Mission, I'll say
He said
that
it. Let's go. Let's go.
that particular film is what excites me about this particular film is the fact that it's funny. Oh my goodness, it's funny from page 1 to page 80. But it's also um, several messages, inspirational messages, political messages throughout,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's gonna do something to a broad audience, right? It's to me when you go to the movies, when you watch a movie, you want to experience all the senses, right? You want to
Right,
laugh,
right, right.
you want to cry, you want to, applaud, you want to enjoy yourself, and the ups and the downs and all the emotions when you're watching a movie is the fun part of it. This particular film taps into a few of those emotions, and that makes us really excited by it. The young man that wrote the film and starred in the film, that's starring in the film is Mike Ben,
Mm,
who's also um, one of our founding members of the platform. He's a part of the founder circle, one of our influencers that came on early.
okay.
And Mike has been talking to us about this project for a long time. It started off as a play.
Hmm.
And Wayne and I have been talking about, producing it for a while. And we kept saying, Mike, go back, make some more changes to the script, make it a little bit better, a little bit better. Add this, add some more information, some more inspiration, add this, add that. And he did that. And, he over delivered. He
Mm,
came back and we read it and we said, okay, you have something. This is it. Let's figure out how we can make this happen. And we decided that, we wanted to make it our first original feature on JaroGo. And again, it's gonna be a lot of fun for people to watch, and you're gonna walk away with something. And three generations can watch the movie.
okay.
It's PG-13. We'll say, your teenager, the parent and the grandparent can all watch this movie together, and they will all understand everything from A to Z, and they
Mm,
will laugh about it over and over and over again, and they will talk about the message, and hopefully they will watch it and share it and again and again and again. So we're really excited about
okay. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I've been watching the little clips and the teasers and all that good stuff. I'm going, ooh, no.
it.
And I am a preacher's grandson. So I grew up around some great orators and some great situations, some interesting situations. And I could tell, as you said, there's some satire in there, there's some commentary, about things that are going on. Like, you know, me growing up admiring preachers, Jesse Jackson walks out of the back room in my grandfather's house and sits down and says, "How you doing, boy? I don't like kids," and turns around and walks away and goes to the back and they serve him his dinner out there because I'm in the kitchen. Like I can't be in the kitchen with Jesse Jackson in the kitchen. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Or Abernathy comes through and he's spilling, you know what I mean, stuff. Oh wow. So it was amazing. You froze up a little bit there, but that was my
Oh,
story. Was there anything you've been on here with me quite some time? I appreciate your time and it's been a very valuable conversation. Um, is there anything you wanted to cover that I may have neglected?
man, you covered a lot. This was great. I mean, I enjoyed the conversation. I man, I don't know what else I could add. I mean, just know for anyone that's reading, watching, etc., is that um, we're excited about what we're able to uh, to bring to the world, what we've been blessed to share with the world. We truly believe in our heart of hearts is that JaroGO is going to be a huge blessing to many. Um, and we believe that it's going to change the minds of many um, in terms of the way they do business, to do business the right way, as they continue to work with creatives.
Mhm.
And just, I mean, a living, breathing testimony of what hard work and dedication can do.
Mm.
And that's what we're excited about it. We're excited to share this.
I'm excited to be a part of this journey, telling the story, helping to tell the story, and you know, it's pretty amazing. There's some surprises coming later, y'all. We ain't getting into it just yet, but some
That's
surprises,
right. That's right.
and I'm excited. Excited for that. So, look, I want to thank you for your time, shenanigans. I will always have some shenanigans for us anytime we get together. I promise you, we're gonna get on the fishing bank. We're gonna be at the cookout, and
Love it.
I am going to act a fool. Right now, I'm being as professional as I can at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and having fun listening to you and learning more about your why. So I really appreciate you. And so until the next time we hook up,
Absolutely. Until the next time, my brother, we appreciate you. And this was fun.
it's amazing. I appreciate
Yes,
it.
sir.
All right.